So today's video is going to be interesting to maybe only 10 people. But for those 10 people, it ought to be really interesting. What I've got is we've bought a new boat, so we're getting rid of Dragonfly, and I've been trying to do these little odds and ends right now while I have a chance. But what I found in it was the old Autopilot, and the old Autopilot happens to be a Calmec Autopilot Mark 1. So it's from space age material like everything was. This thing is from 1970. What I found on the internet was one person said that they'd give out some diagrams. They wanted $25 for each one plus shipping. So what I figured I'd do is kind of go over the Autopilot, a couple little maintenance items that I found in the paperwork, and to just zoom in on the paperwork so you can take a screenshot of it if you want it or something like that. So
okay, so here's one of the brochures, and inside, typical mount-ups. So there it is on someone's dash. Pretty much all of them have it on the dash. The most trouble-free Autopilot ever. Look at this up here, $295. My arms aren't okay. So pretty much it is pretty simple. There's a drive unit. There's 4 wires that go in this little box. 2 power wires, hot to ground, and then this little cable that you pull out. When you pull that, I've got the cover off so we can see inside of it. It just engages this little wheel. Not much to it at all. Looks like another little flyer. So here, the simplest, easiest to use, easiest to install, course holdingest Autopilot ever. It's so futuristic they made their own word for it. Space age research development. Some of the stuff I found was they actually did make some other stuff for space. But so did everybody back then. It was made in California originally. I do not have the dual station, but if you happen to have a dual station, this can help you with stuff down there, nothing on the back. There's another flyer. Looks like a different version. Some of the specs on it. This one's $495. See if I can get it out here so you can screenshot it if you want. And there's all these little doodads for it. Okay, here's how much it costs with the price list from January 1st, 1970. So I was not even born yet. Sorry, you'll probably get my hands in it if you do take a screenshot. Then there's this stuff. This part is very important right here. You have to use a feeler gauge to check between the driver and sprocket. And we're going to go ahead and do that because I have not checked mine, although I had an old part. Then, serious damage will result if you don't do this. So, when you engage this lever, this little guy goes forward and you have to check it in between the two. Easy enough. It's pretty much the only thing you have to watch on the whole thing. Alright, here it is. Alright, here's the control. And I had a heck of a time trying to find some weatherproof wire. I ended up with Cat 5. So I just grabbed a couple of wires out of it. I'm going to go ahead and solder all this directly to it, I do believe. Right now it doesn't quite match. But here's what's inside of it. Let's see. So see, there's some liquid in there. I'm not sure if I can get it. See back right here, there's like a little copper thing. Other than that, I don't know how the hell it works. It's just, there's some string on it and stuff, so when you turn this, the whole thing spins. So you kind of have to, looks like you take the wire and you run it up through here, and then there's a hole. You can see the hole kind of, yeah. A little black grommet in it. So there's that. Okay, and here's the rest of it. It's just a very small little motor, but follow my face here. There's the gear drive, there's the chain, some mounting brackets. Mine has a homemade jobby to go on the end of it. So the wiring is quite simple. There's 4 wires that coincide with the 4 wires up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a hot and a ground. That's all there is to it. Let me find this piece. Alright, so if you need to know the color sequence, looks like number 1 is black, 2 is red, 3 is green, 4 is white. And this whole thing just slides in there, but of course I don't have it hooked up right now. So I'll resolder my wires into that. Now for the inside. Alright, so here's how it works. If you look right down here, there's a little white switch. And when you push this, and this guy here, this is adjustable, so you can change the tension. And then this is adjustable, and this is what we're going to use to adjust the gap. So when I push this, you can hear it click. That little click there is the switch. And then this part pushes on this little button that it's like a detent. So there it is disengaged, there it is engaged. Disengaged, engaged. So when I got this, I took it apart, or the lever was seized up. So I had to take this whole apart and polish it up a little bit. And then I went ahead and just put some white lithium grease in there, and hopefully it'll be good for a while. I don't know how it got any moisture in it, but I haven't been in here. I don't really get into electronics, so let's go ahead and test that gap. Alright, so I've got 0.12 tenths. That's kind of sloppy, but if I can get that, get it at 12, that's kind of in between the two, isn't it? Boy, that's hard. I wouldn't have thought I'd push it down that hard. Got a couple turns on it, so there I have a little bit of resistance. So that's going to make pushing this cable a lot harder. So we do the lever. There it is. Well, okay, what's in there now? Like that at all, really. I guess it makes sense for it to be in there pretty solid, but should change that binding on everything. I'm going to back that off a touch. You've got to pull a freaking cable, so I don't know how you pull that. Is it that hard to pull? Yeah, I turned it back a touch and now kind of sloppy. Alright, I guess that's what it is. So now let's operate it. Alright, so now I got it all hooked up. Some power running to it. So now when I flip this switch, it'll connect everything and there she starts to turn. Okay, now this is the part I don't understand. It's spinning around. Alright, so now I don't really know what's going on. It's just, if I bump this, it kind of starts doing stuff. I checked the compass heading, and this is where it wants to be. Now, if I turn it, it's really not doing much. I would think it would do more. That time it did, but it definitely wasn't 90 degrees. Or 25 degrees, I guess. But now it's going. Make a liar out of me. So I guess I'm not sure if this little guy just picks the heading around and keeps you... See, now it stopped. So how would it know? It seems like it would just keep turning until this came back to the heading of, oh yeah, 110 degrees. I don't know. It just came on. Okay, so here's the part I don't get. If I change this, it moves. But it just must have moved it, however far I moved it there, 20 degrees or something, 30 degrees. But if I turn this, it compensates again. So maybe it's just taking me back to this heading where I was. I don't really know. We won't know anymore until we get on the boat. The last owner never used this thing, which is probably why it was seized up. But he heard from the owner before him that it worked well. So I guess we'll see. I'm just excited that it makes noise and I have all the pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and wire this in sometime in the next, well, I have 2 months to do it because it's still ice all over the lake. So hopefully this helped out 1 or 2 people in the world. And like I said, if you have any questions, get a hold of me. Thanks. So I remember how I said it seemed like the detent was just way too much for a little cable. If you look right by my screwdriver there, there's a little hole, just the right size for this ball bearing to go into. So when I pull this ball bearing is going to pop forward, and then it'll go in that hole. So I'm pretty sure that measurement of 12 tenths or 10 to 14 tenths should be measured with those engaged, and it says that in the directions. But so I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and it should be all good. So yeah, I definitely had it over tightened. Of course, I had it all put together, all cleaned up, ready to go back on the boat. But I'm glad that I figured that out. All right, that's it.